In today's church, a unique tension exists: the need to balance the danger of being judgmental with the reality of consumer attitudes among believers. Many Christians struggle with how to address unhealthy patterns in the church without falling into harsh criticism or condemnation. At the same time, there's a growing trend of treating faith like a product, seeking entertainment, convenience, or personal gain rather than true discipleship. This video explores how Scripture guides us to navigate this tension with wisdom and love, ensuring that our communities remain healthy, unified, and focused on Christ. Scripture warns Christians about the dangers of being judgmental. When we condemn others harshly, as cautioned in Matthew 7:1-5 and James 4:11-12, we risk damaging the unity of the church and discouraging spiritual growth. A judgmental spirit can create barriers between believers, making it difficult for people to feel accepted and supported. Instead of fostering an environment of grace and encouragement, harsh criticism can lead to division and resentment. Recognizing this, it's crucial to approach one another with humility and a desire to build up rather than tear down. Alongside judgmentalism, churches today face the challenge of consumer syndrome. This occurs when believers approach faith as consumers, seeking entertainment, convenience, or personal gain rather than genuine discipleship. Scriptures like Luke 12:15 and 1 Timothy 6:6-8 remind us that life is more than possessions and personal satisfaction. When church becomes a marketplace rather than a family, spiritual growth is hindered. Recognizing these tendencies is the first step toward fostering a healthier, more Christ-centered community. The real challenge for churches is to discern unhealthy patterns without condemning individuals. It's about recognizing when consumer attitudes or judgmentalism are present, but responding with grace and wisdom. This balance is not easy, but it's essential for maintaining unity and encouraging spiritual growth. By focusing on discernment rather than condemnation, we create space for honest conversations and genuine transformation within the church. John 7:24 instructs us to stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly. Healthy discernment means identifying attitudes or behaviors that hinder spiritual growth, without labeling people as hopeless or unworthy. This approach allows us to address issues constructively, focusing on growth and restoration rather than shame or exclusion. Discernment is about seeing with spiritual eyes and responding with both truth and love. Before addressing the faults of others, Scripture calls us to examine ourselves. Matthew 7:5 uses the vivid image of removing the plank from our own eye before pointing out the speck in someone else. This principle applies to both leaders and members. We must honestly assess our own consumer tendencies and judgmental attitudes, ensuring that our motivation is rooted in humility and a desire for mutual growth. Galatians 6:1 encourages believers to restore those caught in sin gently. Addressing consumerism or judgmentalism should always be done with compassion, not harshness. When correction is delivered with empathy and understanding, it fosters healing and growth rather than resentment. The goal is always restoration and deeper discipleship, not punishment or exclusion. Acts 20:35 reminds us that it is more blessed to give than to receive. Shifting the focus from "what do I get?" to "how can I serve?" transforms the church from a place of consumption to a community of generosity. Encouraging service and generosity helps believers move beyond self-interest and discover the joy of contributing to the growth and well-being of others. One practical way to combat consumer attitudes is by teaching contentment. Regular reminders that true joy comes from Christ, not from consumer satisfaction, help reorient the hearts of believers. Contentment frees us from the endless pursuit of more and allows us to appreciate the blessings we already have. This teaching is vital for nurturing a healthy, grateful church culture. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping church culture. By embodying humility and service, leaders demonstrate that the church is a family, not a marketplace. When leaders serve alongside members, they set an example that inspires others to follow. Servant leadership creates an environment where everyone feels valued and motivated to contribute. Creating opportunities for meaningful service is essential for moving members from passive consumers to active participants. When people are given the chance to contribute their gifts and talents, they become more invested in the life of the church. Service opportunities help foster a sense of belonging and purpose, strengthening the entire community. It's important to avoid labeling people as consumers. Instead, frame discussions around growth, discipleship, and maturity. Labels can be limiting and discouraging, while focusing on positive growth encourages everyone to pursue deeper faith. By shifting the conversation, we help create a more supportive and uplifting church environment. When addressing issues in the church, it's vital to speak with grace. Use encouragement more than criticism, inviting people into deeper faith rather than shamming them. Grace-filled conversations open doors for transformation and help maintain unity. This approach reflects the heart of Christ and builds a culture of trust and support. Recognizing consumer tendencies in ourselves and others is an ongoing process. It requires honesty and self-awareness, as well as a willingness to be challenged. By acknowledging these patterns, we can take intentional steps to shift our focus from self-interest to service, from consumption to contribution. This self-awareness is key to personal and communal growth. Humility is at the heart of balancing judgment and consumerism. When we respond to others with humility, we create space for honest dialogue and mutual growth. Humility allows us to admit our own shortcomings and approach others with empathy. This attitude fosters a culture where everyone feels safe to grow and change. A church that prioritizes encouragement over criticism is one where people are motivated to grow. Encouragement builds confidence and inspires believers to pursue deeper discipleship. While constructive feedback is important, it should always be delivered in a way that uplifts and empowers rather than discourages. The ultimate goal is to focus on love, service, and growth in faith. When the church resists consumerism and avoids judgmental attitudes, it becomes a place where everyone can thrive. Love is the foundation that holds the community together, and growth is the fruit of a healthy, Christ-centered environment. Throughout Scripture, we find guidance for balancing discernment and compassion. Verses like John 7:24, Matthew 7:5, Galatians 6:1, and Acts 20:35 provide a framework for addressing issues in the church with wisdom and love. By grounding our actions in biblical principles, we ensure that our approach is both faithful and effective. A healthy church culture is one where members feel valued, supported, and challenged to grow. This culture is built on mutual respect, open communication, and a shared commitment to Christ. By intentionally fostering these qualities, churches can overcome the pitfalls of judgmentalism and consumerism, creating a vibrant and welcoming community. Moving forward, churches can take practical steps to balance judgment and consumerism. These include teaching contentment, modeling servant leadership, creating service opportunities, avoiding negative labels, and speaking with grace. By implementing these practices, churches can nurture a culture of love, service, and spiritual maturity. In summary, the balance lies in discernment without condemnation. Christians are called to recognize consumer tendencies in themselves and others, but to respond with humility, encouragement, and a call to deeper discipleship. The church thrives when it resists consumerism and avoids judgmental attitudes, focusing instead on love, service, and growth in faith. By following biblical principles and fostering a supportive community, we can navigate this tension with wisdom and grace.